But anyway, on the line, Steve Adubato Jr., and we are on the cusp of what we've been waiting for with this U.S. Senate election on the 3rd Wednesday of October, on October 16th. On a Wednesday? In which people are going to be expected to come together to vote for the U.S. Senate seat, in which they have a choice of either Cory Booker, the Democrat, or Steve Lonegan, the Republican. Even though the general election is November 5th, that's when Chris Christie is running and everyone in the state legislature. Good morning, Steve Adubato.
Good morning, Curtis. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this debate. The first of what? 2 debates, right, in total that'll take place between Cory Booker and Steve Lonegan?
That's right. There'll be 2 spirited debates back and forth between 2 candidates. People say that they're all the same. Well, in this case, they are not all the same. These 2 candidates could not be more diametrically opposed in their view of the world, in their view of politics, in their view of what a United States Senator should be.
Now let's look at Steve Lonegan. He has not run away from who he is in any way, shape, or form. Supported by the Tea Party, supported by Republicans and conservatives. He has not only not distanced himself at a time where Republican, conservative, Tea Party supporters are taking it on the chops because of the close down of the federal government. He's brought in Rand Paul. He brought in Governor Perry. He announced that Sarah Palin was endorsing him yesterday. He's ratcheting it up. He's even pronouncing support on all of his ads, his many radio ads that he runs, and every public appearance that he makes. He's like the Energizer Bunny. Bing, 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 bing. He's all over the place.
Listen, I give Steve Lonegan a lot of credit. I don't agree with a lot of his politics, but I give him credit for not running from his politics, just like you said. He tells people publicly, look, I know you're going to be inconvenienced by the federal government being shut down, but you got to stick by your principles. I don't agree with Obamacare, and the way to try to change it, the way to try to repeal it, is to go nuclear on this. And he goes, this is the way to do it. So I think shutting down the government's the only way to go. So if you're inconvenienced, so be it. Now, I think that's crazy. I think that's the wrong way to go. That's not the way you negotiate. But he says, that's who I am. I'm not changing it. And I give the guy credit for letting people know who he is, instead of saying, hey, listen, I needed to be somebody in order to get elected, and then after I get elected, I'm going to tell you who I really am. That's pretty atypical for a politician. So Steve Lonegan doesn't change anything. And the fact that these polls are getting tighter, Curtis, with him being who he is, it's pretty interesting.
Oh, not only interesting, it flies in the face of all these so-called consultants who take, the straight-edge razor out to these candidates and totally so frighten them that they can't be honest. They can't express themselves. Everything is said in a 7-second soundbite. With Steve Lonegan, he takes it right to Cory Booker. And even, like, for instance, yesterday, to just show you how people have drunk the Kool-Aid, and I could be wrong on this, but I would bet everything I have in the world that I was right. We had Tom Kane Sr. on in advance of the unveiling of the statue downtown Newark outside of the courthouse in honor of Brendan Byrne.
I was there.
Right, and as you know, they have this back and forth in the Newark Star-Ledger once a week. I love reading it because even though they're from 2 different political ideologies, sometimes they agree, disagree, national issues, regional issues, state issues, local issues. It's sort of like what I have with Governor David Paterson at night on the drive home 5 to 7 Monday through Friday. So I really like that. Tom Kane Sr. was so sure that Cory Booker would be there. Frank Morano high-fived Tom Kane Sr., and I said, I don't think he's going to be there. Now, was I right or was I wrong?
Put it this way. I was looking around. I know Newark really well. I know that crowd well. Cory Booker is between 6'3" and 6'4". He's got a big, shiny, bald head, kind of like Charles Barkley. I didn't see him.
Now,
see him.
Steve Adubato Jr., how could I be so right and everyone else on this issue be so wrong? Because it would have been assumed, even though you're in now what has become a very tough campaign, as you mentioned, the spread between he and Steve Lonegan has shrunk noticeably. It's in your city. It's a Democratic governor, iconic. Every living governor is there. You have Jim McGreevey, you have Christine Todd Whitlis, you have Tom Kean Sr.,
Jim Florio.
Right, Jim Florio Free in 93. He's there. They're all there. And the mayor, who should be hosting this in his own city, missing in action, like he's been on so many things that are related to Newark over the years.
It was, look, I've said this before on your show many times. I like Corey. He's a bright young guy, Yale, the whole education in the Ivy League, the whole bit. But when it comes to common sense, something's missing there, because that was the place to be. Everyone who is anyone, and a lot of other people who are not connected to politics were there, because Brendan Byrne, who served 8 years in this state, talk about being honest. This was a guy who, listen to what he apologized for. He apologized. He was the one who instituted, as you know, the income tax,
yes,
which made him very unpopular. He said, listen, I want to apologize not for instituting the income tax. I want to apologize because when I ran the first time, I knew I probably was going to do it, and I should have been honest enough to tell you I was going to do it, and I lied and didn't tell you, and I should have been more honest. My point is that Brendan Byrne, like him or not, was an icon in the state, is an icon. They unveiled this 7-foot statue. He had to be there. Cory Booker had to be there. That was the place to be. Where else would you be? In California? In New York City? You're supposed to be in the city. And where we come from, Curtis, no disrespect,
yes,
the city means Newark.
And El Jefe, Chris Christie, was there, right?
He was right there. In fact, Chris Christie introduced Brendan Byrne.
Yeah, see,
the Republican governor introduced the Democratic governor, Brendan Byrne.
Now,
it just was the place to be.
Now, as much as I love the Newark Star-Ledger, and I do, I read it every day. That's how I know about the Byrne Kane column. And I read the tongue-in-cheek endorsement by that thief, Sharp James, yesterday of Cory Booker.
And you read my column on Sundays in the Ledger. I know that.
Yes, and I know you're going to be.
Say that, but I know you do.
You're going to be in Perth Amboy. I read the advertisement. In fact, you're promoting something that to all Puerto Ricans, they really need to know this about patriotism and loyalty that they have always shown over the years, and they've never been credited for it. In fact, most people don't even know they're true Americans. Am I right or wrong on that?
The Buccaneers, the 65th, this group that I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but it's an incredible film that is being screened that day. These from Puerto Rico, they fought for years and years. They was the only troop that fought together as an ethnic group, and frankly, they were treated like crap for a lot of years. And they were so patriotic. They loved this country so much. They fought. They died. They just gave so much blood. Their families suffered, and there's a film in Perth Amboy that we're screening on Saturday, and I'm proud to not only host it, but to do a Q&A with some of the survivors and family members from those veterans from World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, and that is what's happening Saturday.
Should be mandatory in the schools, particularly Veterans Day is coming up, and I know at least in Jersey, many of the districts, they make the kids go to school. Unlike here in New York, they give them a holiday, and they don't do anything that memorializes veterans. But when I organized Guardian Angels in San Juan, and I visited the Veterans Cemetery there, and you see all the Puerto Rican men who gave their life over the years for their country. People don't realize it's their country. They're as American as anyone else.
That's right.
Now,
but we digress. Sorry, Curtis.
No. I'm passionate about that because people, they assume, Puerto Ricans, they're illegal aliens, schmucks, putzes. But anyway, this is incredible. We're going to be talking to Joe Lhota up next. You've followed the polls in New York. He's fading so fast that even in a New York Times poll today, even amongst voters who have a favorable opinion of Rudy, de Blasio beats him. Because Joe Lhota, I believe, has left. Rudy has left a lot of the values that made it a great administration, but I'll get into it with him. Steve Lonigan, totally reversed, charging ahead. I am who I am. And I got to tell you that if Cory Booker doesn't get it together in these final 2 weeks, with a minimal voter turnout, the true believers may dictate who becomes the next U.S. Senator.
Curtis, remember, Wednesday. Not Tuesday, Wednesday, October 16th. It's an odd day. People are not used to voting on that day. It is not the same day that they're voting for the governorship. It's hard enough to get folks in the city, urban areas to vote anyway. I will tell you, if Cory Booker, again, who comes into this with a 30, 40-point lead, now down to 10, 12, 14, depending upon which poll you look at, if they're asleep at the switch, I don't care how much money you raise in this campaign. He's raised millions and millions and millions. Those dollars don't vote. And if Steve Lonigan's voters, his supporters, are as energized as they appear to be, in a state where his politics do not match up all that well with the rest of the voters, Steve Lonigan could pull off the most incredible upset this state, the Garden State, my state, has ever seen in the history of politics on Wednesday, October 16th.
Question here. When I saw that tongue-in-cheek endorsement yesterday, front page above the fold by Sharp James in the Newark Star-Ledger of Cory Booker to become the next U.S. Senator, Team Booker, they did reject that, didn't they? They did ultimately say thank you, but no thank you. Please tell me they said that. Please tell me they said that.
They didn't say that. They'll take it where they can get it.
That means they realize it's a close race.
They'll take what they can get. They will not say it, but they know they're in a dogfight.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Well, I appreciate you having been at the unveiling of the statue. And by the way, did any pigeons come by and poop on the statue right away? Because they always do that here on this side of the Hudson.
They wouldn't dare. They would not dare ever desecrate the statue of Brendan Byrne.
Be honest.
While he was there.
Be honest. Pigeons are afraid to come into Newark because of the carjackings, the drive-by shootings, and the sporadic gunfire that goes off in the air. Be honest. Come on, be honest.
There are some advantages to being in Newark, and that's one of them.
Steve Adubato Jr.,